If you hear this one sound from your car right now, you are driving a time bomb. A sound so small, so easy to ignore, could be the difference between a normal drive and a crash that changes everything. It's not the grinding you need to worry about. Not yet. It's the whisper that comes long before that don't touch that dial. I'm going to show you exactly how to find it, what it means, and what you need to do immediately before your braking system fails completely. Look, we all drive cars, and we all take them for granted. Most people think they know when their brakes are bad. They wait for the metal-on-metal grinding you hear in old movies. But by then, you've already messed up big time. The brake system is a serious piece of engineering, designed with a built-in alarm clock, and it's sounding off right now. You just don't know how to hear it. The biggest mistake drivers make is thinking that a brake sound is just a temporary thing, maybe a little rust, or just a wet morning. They turn up the radio and try to forget about it. This isn't just a noisy annoyance. Every single sound your brakes make is a piece of a detailed warning system, and ignoring it means you are actively choosing to drive without the necessary ability to stop your vehicle when you need it most. When the time comes to slam on the brakes to avoid an accident, a deer crossing the road, a kid running out, or someone cutting you off, that moment is not the time to realize you should have listened to the noise a month ago. Learning to listen to these sounds will save you thousands of dollars in repairs, and more importantly, it could save your life or the life of a passenger. Because let's be totally clear, one of these sounds means your car is no longer safe to drive on any road, at any speed. It's an emergency, and you need to treat it like one. Exploration/development. The brake system is pretty simple when you look at it. You push a pedal, and that force is multiplied and sent down a line of fluid, which pushes a piston, which clamps two pads onto a spinning disc, and that friction slows the car down. All these parts, the pads, the rotors, the calipers, and the fluid, need to work perfectly together, and when one part starts to wear out, it makes a sound. Sound 1. The high-pitched squeal, the early warning. This is the sound you need to listen for, the one everyone thinks is just annoying, but it's the most helpful. It's a thin, high-pitched squeal that often comes and goes. It might only happen when you press the pedal lightly, or when you back up, or maybe only first thing in the morning. What you are actually hearing, the squealer, you are not hearing the brake pad material itself. Think of it like a built-in metal finger. When your brake pads are new, they are thick, maybe about half an inch or a little more. The squealer sits way up inside the assembly. But as the pad gets used, over months and miles of driving, the friction material wears down and gets thinner. The squealer gets closer and closer to the main spinning disc, which we call the rotor. It's not meant to stop your car. It's meant to make a horrible, high-pitched noise that sends you straight to the garage. It is an intentional warning system. You are still safe to drive for a little while, but you need to book that appointment now. This is the difference between a cheap repair and a very expensive one. Scenario A. You listen to the squeal, the smart move. You hear the squeal, you take your car to the shop, and they look at it. They measure the pad thickness and say, "Yep, it's down to 3 millimeters, you need new pads." A brake pad replacement is relatively cheap and quick. The whole job is simple, and the rotors, the spinning discs, are fine and don't need to be touched. So you drive another few weeks, maybe another month. That little metal squealer finger is now scraping away for hundreds of miles. Because that metal is much harder than the cast iron the rotor is made of, it starts to cut a deep, circular groove into the face of the rotor. It's like a tiny, specialized record player digging into a vinyl disc. Once that groove is cut deep enough, the rotor is ruined. Now, when you go to the shop, they say, the squealing pads are completely worn out, but because you waited, that metal is digging a trench in your rotors. We can't just put new pads on, because they will wear unevenly and start making noise immediately. You need new pads and 2 new rotors. This mistake, ignoring a tiny sound, just doubled or even tripled the cost of your repair, and that's why this first sound is the most important one to listen for. It's giving you a chance to save a lot of money and keep your rotors healthy. Sound 2. The deep, terrible grinding, the emergency stop. This is the sound of total disaster, and if you hear this, you need to pull over right now. It's a deep vibration that you often feel in the floorboard and in the brake pedal itself. When you hear this grinding, it means you have gone past the warning stage, past the squeal. You have literally driven until the friction material of the brake pad has been completely worn away that it's gone. Now, Instead of a special friction compound clamping onto the rotor, you have the thick, steel backing plate of the brake pad slamming directly against the metal of the rotor. It is a terrible, unforgiving metal-on-metal contact. The danger here is immense. First, the stopping power of steel on iron is far, far worse than the special pad-on-iron friction you're supposed to have. Your stopping distance at 40 miles an hour might be 50 feet longer than it should be. Second, the heat. When metal grinds against metal like this, it creates massive, extreme heat. The pedal will sink to the floor, and you will have zero braking power. This is a complete, catastrophic failure. The instant you hear this low grinding, you stop driving. You pull over safely, call a tow truck, and have it taken to the shop. Do not try to just make it home. Every single rotation of the wheel is destroying your rotor more, and more importantly, you are risking an accident. This is the expensive outcome of ignoring sound 1. The symptom, the brake pedal. When the brake booster leaks and hisses, you start to lose that power assist. The first thing you will notice is that the brake pedal suddenly feels rock hard. It feels like you are pressing against a solid wall. You have to push down with 2 feet, using all your strength, just to get the car to slow down. The fluid is still there, and the pads will still clamp down. But you have lost the power that helps you push. It's like lifting a heavy box with an assistant, and then suddenly the assistant just vanishes, and you're on your own. You can still do the work, but it takes 10 times the effort. This is a very dangerous situation because in a panic stop, when every split second counts, you will not be able to push the pedal hard enough or fast enough to stop the car. You must be extremely aware that your stopping distance has massively increased and that you must leave a huge gap between you and the car in front. You are safe to limp home, but you need to do so very slowly and with extreme caution, knowing that your car's ability to stop in an emergency is severely compromised. A failed brake booster must be replaced immediately. Why you can't trust just the brake light. One last thing, and this is crucial for the educational side of this video. Do not, ever, wait for the little red brake light to come on in your dashboard to tell you your pads are worn out. That light does not tell you your pads are worn out. That light tells you one of 2 things. Either your parking brake is partially on, or your brake fluid level is dangerously low. The brake fluid level drops for 2 reasons: a major leak, which is an immediate, emergency breakdown, or, more commonly, because the brake pads have worn so thin that the calipers have had to extend the pistons out so far to compensate that the fluid has gone down in the master cylinder reservoir. The light comes on after the fluid is low, which happens after the pads are already too thin. You are already well past the squealing stage and likely into the grinding stage. Your ears are the most important part of the warning system. We all get comfortable in our cars that we get complacent. You hear a sound and you think, I'll take care of it later. But here's the reality check, the key moment you need to remember. When brake failure happens, it doesn't happen when you're alone in a parking lot. It happens when you are flying down the highway and traffic suddenly jams up. It happens when you are descending a long, steep hill and the brakes have been working nonstop, heating up the entire system. It happens when you have a loved one in the car and your full, absolute focus should be on avoiding the danger, not wondering if your car is going to stop. That small, high-pitched squeal you ignored for weeks, that sound you covered up with the radio, suddenly becomes the complete silence of a pedal that goes to the floor and the violent, terrifying reality of a crash you couldn't prevent. If you hear the grinding, the clunk, or the hiss, you're on borrowed time. Fix it immediately. The one thing you should never ignore is the sound that tells you your most critical safety system is failing. So, to wrap this up, your car's brakes are talking to you, and now you know the language. The high-pitched squeal is your financial warning. Fix it now, save money later. The deep, terrible grinding is your emergency siren. Stop driving, call a tow truck. Your car is unsafe. And the hissing sound with a rock-hard pedal means you've lost your power assist. Drive with extreme caution and get the booster replaced fast. Listen to your card. Don't be the driver who finds out too late that their few $100 repair has turned into a life-changing accident.